At a time when hospitals are occupied and healthcare workers are overstretched, Suniti, an Indian based in New York, chose to take the Ayurvedic route to healing. As advised by Sadhguru, Ayurveda's natural goodness, coupled with remote homeopathic consultation and Isha Yoga, helped Suniti and her family recover from COVID at home.
Namaskaram, everyone.
Namaskaram. Hello. Welcome back to Conscious Conversations.
My name is Sam,
And I'm Tulsi.
and we're Soma Yoga Life.
I think what's really wonderful is that her story is something that is so relevant to this time right now with the pandemic, because doing certain yoga practices have actually helped her family heal from being tested positive for coronavirus to actually recently getting the result that they are now all negative. So I'm so excited and inspired by her journey. She is a super mom. She has not only started her own business and has taken on a whole entrepreneurial journey, but she is an amazing mother to her two children, 11-year-old twins, and an amazing wife to her husband. And her journey is really something that I think inspires Sam and I. So we're so excited to bring her on right now to share a piece of her story.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for that beautiful talk. Thank you so much for doing this conversations. I love your conversations. I don't even miss one.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to actually have you as a guest today to share a little piece of your story as part of this ongoing conversation. And we were just telling everyone what a beautiful transformational journey you've had. And if you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit, telling us where you are right now, and just telling us how you started out with your yoga journey. Would love to hear a little bit about your beginnings.
It's been quite a story, and I must say it's a long story. So just to introduce myself, my name is Suniti, and we live in Brooklyn now. Brooklyn, New York, with my family, 11-year-old twins and my husband. So I recently started my entrepreneurial journey with Pure Meeting. I was a corporate person before, doing in the media industry, working very long hours, earning a very fat paycheck. But very recently started this, and what we do is we do all non-toxic, no plastic solutions to lead a zero-waste lifestyle. And we support disadvantaged communities. So my journey with yoga started a few years back. Actually, so we have this habit in my life, or at least in my family's journey, that every few years we tend to move countries. So my twins were born here in the US. Actually, at that time we were in California, and then we moved to Singapore because of some rhyme and reason. We just create reasons to leave countries because we get bored.
We understand. We're nomadic as well.
We move bag and baggage, we move careers, we do lots of things. So we moved to Singapore, and so we went in as a family of 4, but unfortunately we came back as a family of 3 because we had a lot of marital issues. Almost 7 long years of miserable lifestyle in terms of our marriage. We came back, and then a very old friend of mine reached out to me. Her name is Sonia. She reached out to me and said that you've tried almost everything in your life to change your life, but why don't you give this a try, this yoga a try, because it has really transformed her life. And I was like, well, you know what, I've tried that also. I've tried yoga also, and that didn't really give me any kind of improvement. I've tried all kinds of alternate means of healing. I've gone to every possible yoga class that you can imagine. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try just because you're forcing me to. And she actually literally pushed me, shoved me in there. And then it was like I had to take a flight to Tampa because it was an inner engineering course that was taken by Sadhguru. And I think that was it. That was the start of my journey with yoga. And ever since that has happened, it's been course after course after course. And I haven't stopped. I haven't stopped. So much so that my almost 8 years long battle, marital issues that we had somehow just wiped away. And now we are a family of 4 again. And my husband also joined. My husband also joined us back in the bandwagon here, and we all do yoga. We all practice yoga, and he just saw he just saw the enormous amount of change in me over the years, that it automatically inspired him to figure out what this practice is all about. It just gave me a completely different perspective. It hasn't even opened up a perspective on the marital affairs, but so much so that I was able to appreciate nature, back to appreciating nature. I was able to appreciate humanity. I was able to appreciate just the purpose of life and do way more important things for living. And part of my entrepreneurial journey was also a part of that, which just gave me a completely different perspective. Recently, we got infected with COVID. That was quite a journey that we went through as well. It was myself and my little boy, 11-year-old twin. We both got infected. It turned out to be positive. But so we've been following. I've been following yoga and homeopathy for a very, very long time in my life, almost 10 long years, and natural remedies. So I would say it's literally these simple practices, homeopathy and turmeric tea. That's literally what helped us get out of this mess. We gotten out of this mess completely unscathed, but it was a journey.
This is really something quite miraculous and amazing. Like, I think that people need to hear this story, but I want to give a little more context. So you've just told us so much. You've told us how yoga has supported your family through a really tough time with your marriage, and I want to just point out that you specifically said, it wasn't like you were trying to make your family do something different from what they were doing, or like try to like solve or fix other people. You actually did something that was a solution for yourself, and you transformed yourself, and that in turn inspired your family members to work on themselves and to work on the relationships within your family. So that's something that's really beautiful and something that we have experienced in our lives as well. And I just wanted to, call that out.
It's really courageous for you to share that.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of curious, like, what was it that started to shift? Like, if there's anything that you noticed during that time, like how did yoga make relationships change? I think that's sort of an interesting question.
Very interesting question, because I've also pondered about that for a very long time. But I think for a long time, I used to blame the other person for the mistakes that was happening around us, around me, around just the situations around me. It was never like, of course, I've gone to many shrinks, we've gone to many consultations, we've done all kinds of things. Of course, it was told to us that, it has to be looked upon within. But it hits your head, it hits your mind. But it's never that you're able to practice it in reality. And it's not, I don't even know how this actually transformation just happened. But what I did was extremely, very, very diligent with the practices. I started off with Shambhavi in inner engineering, very, very diligent with the practices, because it just brought in the sense of calmness and a sense of absolute stillness, which I had not seen for many years, which I was able to see a lot of things in clarity. And slowly, I thought there was a lot of chemical shift within myself. I only had 2 expressions before I came to New York and before this beautiful journey with my entrepreneurship started. I only had 2 expressions. One was anger, and the other one was absolute arrogance. And I didn't know what compassion was. I didn't know what love meant. It was just not there with me at all. And when this practice really happened, and I started doing this diligently, people started to see changes. And I was also feeling a lot of chemical change within myself, absolute calmness. And I was able to actually hold still and see the situation at hand, and then figure out what I really need to do to make that situation better, or should I just back off to say that this is probably just how I feel within myself is what I really begin to understand, and I think that's what made the huge change. And slowly I began to understand that there's more purpose to life than just being myself. I wanted to go help others. I wanted to really provide this beauty about nature to others, and that's how it started, and it's flowing still.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, I want to just again say that this is so brave of you to share and to be so vulnerable and just spread this message in the world that it's not just the yes, of course marriage is a two-person, any relationship is a two-person job, right? But at the same time, we have to work on ourselves if we want to see change in the world, right?
And it's not, yeah, absolutely. And it was not a short time. It was literally 12 long years of
right,
really bad battle, really miserable battle. But then for that to shift completely, and for actually I started welcoming people inside my family again. It was my husband automatically came in, and then it was now a happy family, a happy life. But the things that the things that happens around you, it's miraculous to see how it just happens around you. It's even miraculous to see how I even came back into this country, how I got my corporate job, how I transferred into my entrepreneurship journey. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful to see how things just start to fall into place.
It is amazing how once you start opening up to the world starts opening up to you in ways that you wouldn't imagine. And I'm curious, so you did this whole transformation, which is amazing. And then how did your family also get into it? Because, even for us as Hatha Yoga teachers, it's one thing for us to teach people who are already excited about yoga, that's something they're interested in. And then it's a whole other thing to, bring it to our friends and family who, are looking at it from a different perspective. So I'm just curious how that happened.
Yeah.
They've only, as I told you, they've only seen two sides of the coin before this. They've only seen this obnoxious, arrogant, hatred living person who just wanted to get things my way all the time. And then the sudden, complete, almost 360-degree shift that just happened with these powerful energy level practices. They just felt something was in this. And soon, I didn't have to force anyone. And now my sister is into this practice. My parents are into this practice. My father, my husband is into the practice. And so are my children too. So
wow,
that's really something.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah. So you started to talk a little bit about the recent situation that you all went through as a family, and if you can give us a little context, because currently you are in the hotbed in the country that's the hotbed of the world, and within this country of the US, you're in the hotbed of coronavirus in New York City, in Brooklyn, where so many cases are there on every street, in every building, in every part of the city. So I would love to just hear a little bit, if you can give us a little context and paint a picture for us around what was the situation going on around you and how it began, how you figured out that you even had coronavirus.
So I didn't know if I got infected. So we live in Brooklyn. We live in an apartment, and luckily, I was doing. since I have this my business and it's e-commerce, all the shipment was handled by a third-party company, so we were not affected by that. But we are living in a building, and we have to step out to do groceries. But I don't even know how I got infected. But I did. The first thing, the symptoms that I did notice was that I started to have chills. I started to have a slight fever. But the fever started to, slowly begin to rise. So the first thing that I did was, I've always been practicing yoga. Yoga has never left my game. It's a part of a ritual right now, every early morning. But then I soon started to feel that I could not finish my entire sadhana. It was very, very hard because I was going through this, I was having fever.
Right.
And I was having the chills. And soon, the next day, 2 days later, my little boy came back and said he also started feeling the same.
Oh.
So the first thing I did was I reached out to my homeopathic doctor, as always. We don't have a doctor here at all. We don't have an actual physical allopathic doctor because we never go to doctors at all. I think we never fall sick. My children don't have doctors. So I only reached out to my homeopathic doctor who lives in Singapore, by the way. She doesn't live here. So it was remote monitoring. And I reached out and I figured out what practices I really needed to do. I've been following the darshan almost every day, Sadhguru's darshan every day. When we know that for the sadhana, you start to follow certain practices like Simha Kriya on a daily basis. Then I started to do that. But as soon as what I realized that when I really felt sick, when I do my practices, I felt the sudden energy boost in myself. It was unbelievable, because the rest of the time, almost 18 hours a day, I would be in bed. But then as soon as I just force myself to just get up and do my practice, I would feel a complete energy shift. So then it became a family ritual. All of us, we all self-quarantined, of course, because of this happened. We didn't know we were positive. We didn't know we had COVID as well. But it was New York City, so we couldn't go to a hospital. None of the hospitals were even
so when did
accepting
how do you think, was there a moment where you said, thinking back, I think it was when we went to this place that we got COVID, or it just sort of came out of nowhere, from nowhere?
No, we hadn't gone anywhere. We've been quarantined. We've been sitting at home all the time. It's just that we just step out to do groceries and come back because it's right nearby. We didn't have a car all along as well, so we've been literally motioned here. But luckily 2-3 weeks back, we actually just before this entire incident happened, we bought a car, which was good. So that came in. So when this happened, we couldn't go to any hospital, because all the hospitals were saying that if you're not dying, don't come here. So we couldn't go to any hospital. We had no choice.
So you couldn't even get tested, even though you had all the symptoms?
No, we couldn't get. On the fourth day, I began to lose my sense of taste and smell, and that's when I thought, oh my God, this is it. That I was completely infected. But there was this tingling sense of anxiety and a lot of nervousness, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? That kind of feeling internally. But I could not share it with my family. I could not share it with anyone, because my boy was also going through the same. I must say that he was really terrified. He first came back, he cried and came back and said, am I going to really die? Am I going to die from this?
Yeah, it's
so I had to really
scary, especially with what you're hearing around in the news.
It's really scary. So I had to calm him and I have to put up a face. But I always knew at the back of the head that something, with all these 3 remedies, and I would drink turmeric tea, turmeric, ginger, pepper, and lime. I put together and make a tea. I would drink that 5-6 times a day. That was like a game saver. It was like a complete game changer for me. I don't know. I just felt better. So with all these 3 things that I kept doing, it really helped me pull up the support. And then after that, we decided, okay, we have to figure out how to get tested. So we drove all the way from New York to Connecticut, which was a 2-hour drive from here, did a drive-through test, came back, and we didn't get the results immediately. It was almost about a good whole week before the results came out, saying that 2 of you are positive and the other 2 are negative.
So the 2 of you that had symptoms, you and your son, were tested positive, and you all knew because of the symptoms, right?
We all, I
What were the symptoms exactly that you experienced?
So I started having, first it came out with a fever, and then it became chills, but then extreme body pain. It was almost like a chikungunya kind of body pain where I couldn't even move my limbs. I was literally on bed almost for 18 hours. So all these 3 remedies really helped me. But I could see myself, the symptoms slowly changing literally on a daily basis. The 4th day I would get taste and smell goes away. The 5th day I would lose my appetite. It was just like a slow progression, but I could feel that it never went down to my lungs. I could feel it because I was doing all kinds of remedies. I was gargling for 3 times a day with warm water and salt, and I was eating the turmeric tea. I was doing sadhana. I would do Simha Kriya 3 times a day. I would do other sadhana, at least try to push out at least once a day, the Shakti Chalana Kriya, which I would do once a day. And then Isha Kriya really, really helped me. That was also a complete game changer, which helped me at least mentally, emotionally, that I would be able to fight this. Of course, my son.
So I just wanted to point out you've said so much about, the complexities of the physical symptoms, but I think something that people are not realizing is if you do contract this disease, there's so much mental and emotional anxiety and symptoms of, stress on that part of your system too. And I think that's something that if you don't already have a meditation practice, like having something with a tool with which to work with your mind, not just your body, is such an important aspect of preventing this from escalating, and also keeping you stable and being able to support yourself through a challenging time like this.
Yeah, I could see that actually. The day I started to get the symptoms, I was like, I didn't want to tell it to people. I just kept it within myself. I was like, oh my God, this is it. It's hit me. And then I started feeling very, very nervous, very anxious. I would always reach out to a couple of people. I must say, my homeopathy doctor was like constantly messaging, am I, this is it? So it was very, the anxiety level was right there. But then as these practices kicked in, or literally 3 times on a day, I could really feel my anxiety level come down tremendously in a huge way. And by the 4th day, 5th day, I had extreme confidence that I would come out of it completely unscathed. Because it was just like, I also heard in one of the darshans that he did mention that anyone who's been doing this practice, you would be able to recover. So that also kept me going for a long time. It was a complete confidence level that I should be able to live through this peacefully. I would be able to come out of it. And it's just that I had to, comfort my little boy through this, and which was not a hard journey or anything, but it was just sad to see that a small little kid crying to say that he's going to die.
And it was very scary. He also did the practice?
Yeah, he did. So my children practice every morning for 30 minutes. They practice yoga. They have a set of kids abbreviated versions for them, which has been taught. But he was not able to practice that because he was very unwell and sick. But however, he did Simha Kriya almost. We all did Simha Kriya. We still do Simha Kriya almost. So he did it like 2-3 times a day, and that helped him. But his symptoms were so mild, literally so mild. It was like, it's amazing that it didn't affect him the way it affected anybody else.
It's amazing that your family was able to practice together. We see some people here commenting also.
We've asked the question if your family practices yoga, and we've got some beautiful responses from different people. So Shweta said, yes, my whole family was against yoga for a long time, but slowly she supported them all to get connected to yoga, and now that she sees a change in them, that they're really happy. And there's somebody called Jashan who says his mother started doing yoga, and maybe she saw some transformation in him. So it maybe inspired her to let some element of yoga enter her life. So something similar to your story like that, Suniti. And
it's amazing to see so many people here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And some people are saying that they're so Deepya says her mom does some yoga as well, and then Adi says his family doesn't do yoga, but he still encourages them to. So many different experiences for different people. And Akash is saying, yes, my whole family loves yoga. And in Sam and my experience, we wrote recently on our last 2 posts how actually both of our families have been instrumental in introducing us to yoga as well. So it's such a
I saw that. It was such an inspirational journey.
Sorry, Suniti?
I saw that. It was such an inspirational journey. Your parents have introduced you to yoga. It's such a beautiful journey.
Yeah, it really has been. And I think some of my family is on this call right now, on this conversation right now. And I just want to say another time, thank you to all of my family members who've been encouraging and supporting both of us with our yoga journey as well. As you can see, and as we're hearing from your experience, it's such a huge support system, having these tools within your family. And for those of you who may or may not have that family support, don't worry about it. Like it's so important that you work on yourself, and that the transformation within the world and within your families like comes from within you first, right? So only once we can transform and heal ourselves can we do anything else in the world, right? So the change really must start first with us.
Absolutely.
And that's such a testament to your experience as well, Suniti.
And also, it's like if the chemical balance is within us, I feel it doesn't matter whether it is COVID, not COVID, marital, not marital, all kinds of issues. I think there is a solution to that. I'm not saying that this is the cure, but I'm just saying that it's definitely a huge support. A part of the problems I think we kind of overblow into different proportions is because of our thoughts. We just get anxious. We just get completely anxious, like, oh my God, this is going to become the final end. And of course, we are hearing all these stories about COVID, and it is extremely, extremely scary.
Right.
Which even I was. We were very, very scared for a few days. But I always had that internally. Something I had confidence that this is not going to be so bad, and I was able to get out of it.
It's so wonderful. And so I want to just go a little deeper into some of the things that you mentioned. You specifically talked about 2 practices that have supported you. One of them is Isha Kriya, and it supported you and your family to go through this really tumultuous, emotional and mentally stressful experience with a lot more ease. So that's one of the practices. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about Isha Kriya. But before that, Sam, can you just describe a little bit about what Isha Kriya is to those who might be joining us for the first time?
Yeah, so Isha Kriya is a guided meditation by Sadhguru. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes. And Sadhguru will guide you through a certain process where you tie your breath and your thought process together. And by tying your breath and your thought process together, you create a certain Kriya within yourself that creates distance between you and your body and your mind. So if you've listened to Sadhguru or any of the great masters, you will come to an understanding that really suffering can only happen on the level of the body and on the level of the mind. These are the only 2 places where suffering can happen. So if you can create a certain distance between you and your body and mind, a certain freedom arises within you that makes that suffering much less actually painful in your experience, at least in my experience.
And I think that it's just a very simple way to introduce an element of meditativeness into one's life. It's you just have to sit for 15 minutes and be guided with this beautiful voice, just leading your thought and your breath into a certain direction. And after it, the experience that a lot of people go through, and we'd love to hear from all of you if you've experienced Isha Kriya as well. The experience is quite freeing and relaxing. So Suniti, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Isha Kriya?
Yeah, so I, as a part of my regular practice, I did not do Isha Kriya for a very long time, but I kind of knew that they have been guiding, saying that do this, especially now during the challenging times. And as soon as I figured out that this happened to me, I started to do that. And I must say, I started to practice Isha Kriya. I did it almost twice a day. I must say that that was probably my game changer, because when I felt the first few days, it was completely anxious. Anxiety was at the highest, and physically, emotionally as well. And the fact that I think anxiety kind of increased. I could feel my heart really beating fast, because as the fever was increasing, the heart was beating fast. It was all kinds of chemical, physical, all kinds of emotional disturbances. But as soon as I started to practice this on a regular basis, maybe within 2-3 days, I started to notice tremendous change. I could really feel that the anxiety level completely soothed and calmed down, and I could feel myself just getting myself a little bit distanced away from the body a little bit more, that I did not feel, this disease, it could be such a huge thing for me in my situation, and I felt absolute confidence that I can really fight it out. It's just with a little bit of deliberation, and you just have to have that willpower. I knew I just had to have the willpower to fight it out. But it's this was just my experience. I'm not saying that this is going to be the definite cure, but it really, really worked for me, the way I started to begin to feel after doing that. And then, of course, I was telling all my family members too. And so my husband also does Isha Kriya.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's important, and I think that people sometimes we get into this mode where we're thinking virus, we're thinking so much about the body as if it's some separate component from our mental and emotional state. But it's just one giant system, and when you're stressed out, when you're anxious, you're doing a certain amount of harm to your own system just by being in that state for a longer period of time. I mean, this has been studied. There's actually changes within your blood that happen when you're experiencing stress or anxiety. So since we're talking about, disease and wellness and things, Isha Kriya, it's not just that it's giving you peace of mind. That feeling of lowering anxiety, lowering stress, and feeling more capable is actually having a chemical change in your system as well, which I mean, we don't know, we haven't studied it scientifically, but is very likely to help you work through any type of disease or illness that you might experience.
Yeah, and as we know from medical science, like our immunities are much stronger if we're at ease and happy and relaxed and calm, and not when we're stressed out. They're actually their immunity lowers when we're stressed out or feeling upset. So having a practice that helps you to work on both mind and body and maintain a little bit of distance between these things that we're so overly identified with, which can cause even more disease, I think is really powerful, as clearly as has been your experience too, right, Suniti?
It's the identification that needs to get dropped at the end of the day. Identification with anything, identification with how our relationships are, who's bigger than the other. I think that's the key for basic success and basic existence. That's what has really helped me through this journey with fighting this madness with COVID.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. And then you mentioned one other practice that you're also doing, and just for those who may not be familiar with it, the other practice that you mentioned is called Simha Kriya. Simha means a lion. It's a simple, very, very simple and short yogic practice. It takes just a couple minutes to do it, just 2-3 minutes.
It just takes about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
literally.
It's so simple, and it's something that is available for all ages. So it's available for children 7 years old and above. And it's something so simple that can be practiced in such a short time, but yet can have such powerful results. It's a simple breathing technique that can not only enhance and boost your lung capacity, but even tell you right now, if you're able to do it properly, that you don't have the virus. And if you're not able to do this simple kriya with your breath, that you may possibly have coronavirus. So I would love to hear your experience with that.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I literally used the Simha Kriya as a meter to check my progress through the time. So as soon as it was announced and as soon as it came online, publicly available online, I started practicing that as a part of my regular practices. But then I suddenly started to feel that I was not able to hold the breath. So the practice has it where you have to hold the breath for a minute, and I wasn't able to do that the first few days. And then I started to have these symptoms, and then I soon started to lose my sense of taste and smell. So I kind of knew, okay, this is it. I'm hitting the positive ground on this, and it was more like, it was like literally like a meter. But I wouldn't give up on that practice. I would literally do that 2-3 times, because I did notice that as soon as I finished that practice, it was just a huge boost of energy again, and a huge sense of calmness feeling within myself. But then after a few days, maybe 4 or 5 days, I started to pull up my breathing capacity back again. I would be able to get back into that within the minute range. I don't know how all this scientifically it really works, but I literally used to like, okay, I'm internally, mentally, I was figuring, okay, I'm getting better, and it's going towards the progression state.
Wow.
And I was literally we did, all of us do Simha Kriya 2-3 times a day at my place right now, and so do my children.
That's amazing. So I would love to hear a little bit more from another one of your family members. Is he ready to come and share?
I'm going to walk up to his room if it's okay with you.
If there's enough internet there, sure.
Yeah, there is. Because I think it'll take a while for him to come here. Let me just walk up to his room.
So we have a special guest who's been so sweet and willing to share his experience. He's our dear friend Tejas. He's Suniti's son and he's 11 years old. So hi Tejas.
Hello.
Hi. So Tejas, this is Sam. I'm Tulsi. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are right now and how old you are and what you've been doing right now?
I'm 11 years old and I've been doing yoga for 1 year.
You've been doing
Wow.
yoga for one whole year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, what kind of yoga you've been doing.
So there's this thing called Simha Kriya and it helps you get rid of coronavirus.
No, what did you be doing for 1 year? You're asking.
Oh yeah, I've been doing this kids yoga program that you learn in, I think, Tennessee, where you go there and then they like give you like a camp and stuff and then you sleep in 7 days.
Wow. So you went to a kids yoga camp in Tennessee. Was it at Isha Institute of Inner Sciences?
It was at Isha Institute.
That's wonderful. And so you learned yoga in the summer camp, and have you been practicing since you learned that yoga since 1 year ago?
Yeah.
Wow. And does everyone in your family practice yoga?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like? Do you all wake up in the morning and then what do you do?
We wake up early in the morning and then we take a bath and then we just go to yoga.
That's awesome. The whole family. That's so inspiring. So you were telling us a little bit about one particular practice that you did recently. Your mom was saying that both her and you got the coronavirus and got tested positive, and that was a really scary thing. But you were saying that you were doing this yoga and that was helping you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So it's called Simha Kriya and it helped me a lot with the coronavirus and yeah, in 5 days I felt much better already.
Wow.
So yeah.
Just in 5 days.
Yeah.
So was the practice easy to do or did it take time to learn? How did you learn this practice?
So I watched this YouTube video where Sadhguru was in it and he told us what to do. Yeah.
And you were able to learn the practice and do it on your own?
Yeah.
That's
But
wonderful.
it might take like 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. And how long is this practice to do the full practice?
Oh, it's just 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Oh, the whole practice is just under 2 minutes. That's amazing. Do you think other people could benefit from learning this practice?
Well, I think so because they could not be very sick and then yeah, they could like my mom has been doing yoga for like 3-4 years. Yeah, and she never got sick at all. So yeah.
Wow, that's really inspiring. So
Especially with the coronavirus. Yeah.
that's so wonderful.
Except for the-
Thank you. So to all the people who are doing yoga, do you have any message or advice for them? Everyone who's doing yoga, do you have any advice for those people?
Just do yoga. Just do yoga every day.
Every day. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. That is so inspiring to hear from somebody who's been practicing it for over a year and is 11 years old and has recently beat coronavirus through this amazing experience. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Tejas.
Thank you, Tejas, for sharing with us.
Say bye.
Bye.
Bye. So you've heard it from the man himself. Do your yoga every day. Simha Kriya only takes a couple minutes.
Yeah, there's no excuses here, everyone. It's just a 2-minute practice and you can all learn it. And 11-year-old Tejas is our mascot. Amazing. Thank you so much, Suniti, for sharing a little slice of your beautiful family with us.
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. My daughter refused to talk, but
It's still so wonderful to have
Yeah,
Tejas
it's wonderful. It's really,
Tejas represent your children. So
really lovely.
thank you. So would you be able to share a little bit just overall about the experience since you got tested positive? After that, you started amping up your yoga, doing it multiple times a day, even specifically Simha Kriya and Isha Kriya, and your family was also doing some of these practices. And can you tell us a little bit about how that led you to the point where you are right now, where you recently got some new results?
Yeah, so like I told you, I would try very hard to amp it up because physically I wasn't doing really well. But I at least the Shakti Chalana Kriya, which was a much full-blown practice, which takes a much longer time, I was able to probably just do it once a day. But these two, Isha and Simha Kriya, which I would do it 2 times a day. Simha Kriya, we do it 3 times a day, at least 3 times a day. But that I could see, and also with all the other remedies, the 3 things put together for me is what really works. Because I don't know about my, of course, we are all following the same remedies in the entire family, even for my son. But his symptoms were way more milder than mine. But I could see that yoga, homeopathy, and my natural remedies of turmeric tea for sure, that just completely within a few days, within 5-6 days, I was just completely back to normal, at least back to normal, since I didn't have a fever, I didn't have any more chills, the body ache slowly reduced, I was able to be up in the bed, up and about, at least for about 8 hours of the day, and then the remaining of the hours I would be in bed. But a tremendous difference, but this practice for sure, the 2-minute Simha Kriya is like was a game changer.
Wow, that's amazing. And then recently you got retested, right? You just decided that your family should just get tested again to ensure if you still have the virus or not. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Tell us also, what is the experience of going to get tested?
Yeah, I'm
How
curious.
does that
Yeah,
happen?
it's actually not a very fun experience. I must say, I'm really grateful to all these guys who are on the front lines, the doctor, the healthcare workers. So we didn't want to go to a specific hospital, primarily because we didn't want to go in and get reinfected or whatever the case is. We only chose the drive-through. So we went again all the way to Connecticut, and you go there, and then there are these people with hazmat suits, and they come in, and then they put a swab right up on your nose, and it goes all the way to your eye. So the swab goes all the way to your eye for them to take away the mucus. And then it's just a few seconds, but then it goes all the way there. So it's not a very fun ride, and all of us got tested. But the thing is, to see them there in those hazmat suits and then do this, you feel extremely grateful for them, for them to be doing this kind of work. And the other thing that you feel internally is psychologically, you feel you feel a little shamed, what has happened to me? Why am I being, going through this? Internally, the psychological stuff begins to play with you when you actually see this in a realist sense. So it was not a fun experience, but then again, all these emotions play with you, which also really helps. All these other 3 remedies really helps to move these emotions back to normality, because then it was just for a split second that you feel it's a little bit of a shame, but then you come out of it, and you come out of it completely unscathed. And I'm right now willing to share this with everyone, because I think it is such a powerful practice that's available, that everyone can really benefit from it. And even if they do get infected, like my parents were feeling a little sick a few days back, and they called and they said, I'm feeling a little sick, and so immediately they're also on the same bandwagon. I'm not saying that this is definitely the cure, but this is what helped us, so definitely it can help others as well.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I know it's been such a crazy journey the past few weeks, and on top of everything, you've been a mother, a wife, a daughter, like supporting your family in every end of it, and through the whole experience, having your parents in a different part of the world, like supporting them like that, and at the same time continuing to build your entrepreneurial business simultaneously, and supporting all of the customers and clients who the things that you create and the products that you sell are like supporting as well. So thank you. Like I'm seeing so many comments from people who just are saying, God bless you, thank you for sharing your story. It's such a beautiful share, and it's such an inspiration to know that you've really taken, like, it's one thing to know, okay, yoga can help me, and these natural remedies, but to actually put it into practice for your whole family, create a whole lifestyle around it that not only helps you to physically but also mentally and emotionally come out of this with a lot of grace and poise, and to see you here sitting here completely COVID free, recently having gotten your test back that say you're actually testing negative now, which is something celebration that
Total celebration.
it's really wonderful.
I mean, we stopped total celebration. We stopped to have the symptoms, but at least to get that this family history, that really makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge...
No, thank you. I mean, thank you for putting this up completely.
It was really wonderful to have you, and we really appreciate you coming and sharing Unconscious Conversations.
Thank you, Sam and Suniti. You guys are awesome.
We hope you join us next week for the upcoming Conscious Conversations, and until then, stay safe, stay well, and stay conscious.